Hi everyone, I'm Dokken and welcome to Chapter 4 of the National Service Training Program 1 entitled Understanding the Community. So, what are the learning outcomes for this chapter? One is to identify the different local, national, and global problems of the different communities in the Philippines, and two, recommend solutions to address these problems for the betterment of the communities. First, let's talk about community. In this lesson, you'll be able to know what community awareness or development is and how it is important in nation building. The youth have a very significant role in this process. As student leaders, you are expected to contribute in the society. We are all part of a community. Most of us belong to more than one community, whether we are aware of it or not. For example, an individual can be a part of a neighborhood community, a religious community, and a community of shared interests all at the same time. In essence, a community may be described as a geographical area where a group of people live in a common life linked together by factors such as religious beliefs, sexual orientation, occupation, or ethnic origin, and a shared sense of identity and belongingness. Let's now move on to the fundamentals of community. Understanding the community entails understanding it in a number of ways. Whether or not the community is defined geographically, it still has a geographic context, a setting that exists in. At the same time, it's very significant to understand the specific community you're concerned with. You have to get to know its people, their culture, their concerns, and relationships, and to develop your own relationships with the community. So here, just remember the acronym DPIG. D stands for demographics, I infrastructure, P stands for physical aspects, P stands for patterns of settlement, commerce, and industry, H history, E economics, and lastly G government or politics. First, let's talk about demographics. Demographics is the study of a population based on factors such as age, race, and sex. Demographic data refers to socioeconomic information expressed statistically. It also includes employment, education, income, marriage, birth and death rates, and more factors. As a student leader, we must understand the demographic profile of the area for us to see the clear picture of the residents who are in the community itself. So we can plan and organize a program of activities for the people of our chosen community. And also, this will be a significant factor for us to be able to know who will be the chosen participants for our program. Next, let's talk about infrastructures. Community infrastructures primarily refers to small-scale basic structures, technical facilities, and systems built at the community level that are critically for sustenance of lives and livelihoods of the population living in a community. This is very significant as student leaders for us to be able to assess where we'll be having our community engagement and what actions must be done in order for us to execute the plan that we have for a betterment of the people in the community. Next, let's talk about physical aspects. Every community has a physical presence of some sort, even if only one building. If the community is one defined by its population, then its physical properties are also defined by the population, where they live, where they gather, the places that are important to them. Next, patterns of settlement, commerce, and industry. By seeing how they create living and where they are living, we can see what particular culture and character they have. This is very important for us to know, particularly for us to have knowledge in terms of their behavior, so we can have an adjustment in delivery of program of activities during our community immersion. Next, history. The history of community can tell you about the community traditions, such as you can see on the figure. The origins of the Visoria can be traced back to Spanish colonial era when non-Christian Chinese traders were prohibited to live and do business inside the nearby Intramuros. This led the ethnic Chinese to set up shop in Binondo, which caused the area situated near the Pasig River to become a thriving commercial hub. Next, let's talk about economics. When we talk about economics, it's all about the quality of life in a certain community. The branch of knowledge concerned with the production, consumption, and transfer of wealth. So here we have to know the major employers who are residing or operating in the community. So here we can have knowledge in terms of characterization of the community, if it is poor, working class, middle class, or affluent or wealthy. So your group can decide what will be your chosen community for your immersion. Lastly, government or politics. The Department of Interior and Local Government Secretary Eduardo M. Año commended Manila Mayor Scott Moreno for hitting the ground running and for showing strong political will in solving problems in the city of Manila. Through the action of Mayor Scott Moreno, it will affect the people in the Manila city as well as the residents in certain barangays. It will greatly influence the people in the community to do the same, to support what has been doing by the city government, and it also has a positive impact for them because they have been seeing the political will of their mayor to make Manila a great city again. So through the leadership of the city government headed by their mayor, there will be cooperation initiative from the residents to do what must be rightfully done to improve the quality of life in the said city. Let's now move on to community awareness. Community awareness is not a new concept in the Philippines. The vision of community awareness in the Philippines is to realize the community's dreams and expectations by strengthening itself and develop towards its full potentials through active participation and effective involvement, thus creating empowered and responsible citizens working determinedly for a better Philippines. The goal of community awareness is to increase the community's knowledge of the available programs and services offered. This is accomplished by informing the general public through various activities related to local issues, national issues, and global issues. First, let's talk about the issues in local medical frontliners. President Duterte decided to revert NCR, Cavite, Laguna, Bulacan, and Rizal to modified enhanced community quarantine from August 4 to 18 after convening an emergency meeting with his cabinet members on Sunday, August 2, to discuss the concern of medical frontliners who called for a lockdown in Mega Manila to prevent the collapse of health system. Second, the Social Amelioration Program. The Bayanihan to Heal as One Act provides for an emergency subsidy in the amount ranging from 5,000 to 8,000 pesos a month for 2 months to cover for basic needs such as foods, medicine, and toiletries. This is supposedly directed to some 18 million Filipino families. However, in some cities, some residents have not yet received the SAP. Secretary Nograles warned local officials against defying the guidelines for the distribution of emergency relief assistance to 18 million poor families, including those who failed to give cash aid to non-registered voters. Third, social distancing. The first precautionary measure advised by the DOH is social distancing to contain the spread of the virus. But implementing this measure can be challenging in the overcrowded transportation system in the capital. With millions of people commuting daily with the National Capital Region, officials face the challenge of containing the COVID-19 contagion in the NCR, especially in crowded mass transport facilities such as trains, jeepneys, and ride-sharing vehicles. Let's now move on to the national issues. On March 16, 2020, the government of the Philippines under President Rodrigo Duterte imposed an enhanced community quarantine in Luzon, including its associate islands, which is effectively a total lockdown. This time it's no longer just a class suspension and prohibition of mass gatherings. All travel to and from Luzon has been suspended, and all establishments except for those providing essential services such as foods and healthcare were ordered to be closed. All kinds of public transportation is shut down. And also, one of the sectors greatly affected by the coronavirus pandemic is education. To make sure that learning remains hampered as the country battles the pandemic, the Department of Education or DepEd will be implementing a distance learning approach when classes start on October 5. Next, we have global issues. So we have three most common global issues that we are facing right now. One, security threats when Filipino boat sinks after it was hit by Chinese vessel in West Philippine Sea. Second is the health issue that we are facing right now, COVID-19 pandemic, also known as coronavirus. It is an ongoing pandemic of corona disease 2019 caused by severe acute respiratory syndrome coronavirus 2. The disease was first identified in December 2019 in Wuhan, China. Third, issues on territorial claims. Even though President Duterte is dissatisfied over China's refusal to adhere to Manila's 2016 arbitration victory in their South China Sea disputes, the chief executive won't be giving up on asserting the country's claim in the contested territory. Malacanang rests assured that the Philippines is not surrendering on the issue, stressing that the country claims is final, binding, and appealable. Lastly, social issue. A social issue is a problem that influences many individuals within a society or community. A good example of this is the issue on the Manila Bay rehabilitation. Manila Mayor Isko Moreno on Thursday said he sees no reason to stop the controversial Manila Bay White Sand project, saying there should be a valid reason to stop it, which he said is a part of the bay's rehabilitation process. What will be the major reason to stop? And what are we going to gain when we stop? It is long overdue. Let us be fair to environmentalists who fought for this for 20 years. The DOH on Wednesday clarified that only dolomite dust can cause health risks when inhaled. Environment Chief Roy Simato also assured that the crushed dolomite used in the project is not hazardous, noting that only dolomite dust generated during crushing and screening pose risks to the public health.